we do as human beings, which is comparing our inner selves, comparing our innermost workings and thoughts and feelings, comparing that with somebody else's external presentations of external presentation about how they present themselves in public, shall we say. Why do we do it? We're not doing ourselves any favours, so let's stop, shall we? So there's 4 things that I wanted to just quickly talk about in the next 15-20 minutes or so. The first thing is just to acknowledge the fact this is part of the human condition, and we all do this, and we all do this all the time. The second thing is to recognise psychologically, where is this coming from? And this comes down to the human psyche, the human condition, something that's going on a very, very deep level, but we almost don't realise it, and we really need to bring it from the subconscious to the conscious. The third thing is, well, what can we do about it? How can we stop not helping ourselves by comparing ourselves to others in this way? And the fourth thing is actually, how can we leverage it? And there's a little bit of a caveat about leveraging it and making sure that we do so with integrity, which I'll talk about right at the very end. Oh, hi Judah, thank you for stopping by. So the first thing is this thing about comparing our internal selves with somebody else's external presentation. Like, we all do it all the time. And I don't just mean in a business environment with somebody who is somebody who like gets up and gives a really confident presentation and we think, oh gosh, I could never do that. Or it might be, I mean, speaking from past experience here, mums at the school gate. You're slightly dishevelled, you've managed to somehow get your ragtag bunch of kids ready. You're there at the school gate with your hair scraped, well, I was there with my hair scraped back into a greasy ponytail, kind of yesterday's mascara streaking down my face. Knowing that I've got to then go back home and tidy up the bomb site that was the kitchen or the breakfast table or whatever. And Yummy Mummy drives up in a freshly waxed Range Rover or something like that, looking very glamorous, and 2 immaculate children bounce out of the car with polished shoes and little leather satchels, and off they go into school. And you look at that lady and think, oh man, she's got it all together and I look such a mess. Or, you know, we do it in the airport, you know, where they're clutching our economy class ticket and people are jumping to the front of the queue to get in business class or first class and looking at their watches as though they've got terribly, terribly important meetings to go to at the other end of the flight, which they may do. But we look at them and think, oh, they're really important. They must be really well respected by their businesses, and oh, they've got loads of money. Or they've got it together, while I'm just praying that I'm not sitting next to somebody who snores or has body odour. You know, and they've got it together. Well, I've flown in economy, oftentimes with clients. If I'm flying further afield, I'm flying business class. Sometimes I've flown first class. It doesn't make any difference. Actually, it doesn't mean that anyone's got it together. But we look at somebody else's external presence and we judge ourselves by that external presence. And a couple of things can happen. I think we've got to watch out for it both ways. I think for many people operate from a place of lack and a place of insecurity. So when we look at somebody else and we think, oh man, they've got it all together, haven't they? Or, oh, hi Lenny. We think, oh, they've got it all together. We are looking at something that they have and that we don't have. So they have got a business class ticket while I'm still stuck in economy with my plastic knife and fork. They have, mummy at the school gate, a lovely car. I'm imagining a comfortable lifestyle, you know, lovely children who never misbehave. I mean, that's not true, but we kind of imagine that people have things that we don't. And that's in all probability not the case. I'm just going to jump because, let me just scroll back, because Judah has just said, we do well to compare ourselves with our potential, not others, on a completely different path. And what wise words there, Judah, wise words indeed. It just is, it's not helpful to compare ourselves to others, because we are comparing everything that we know and feel about ourselves with what we just see of other people. And Lelaine, yeah, catching the replay, fantastic. Right, well, I'll see you then, or not, as the case may be. Mark, hello, thank you for stopping by. Amir as well. So this business of comparison, it comes often from a place of lack, because we look at somebody else and think, oh, they've got it all together. Well, guess what, friends? Other people are looking at us, thinking that we have it together. And as a case in point, I've recently finished a coaching program with John Moore, who's based here in Scotland, fantastic coach. And when he was offering a new program, and I thought, yeah, I'm definitely putting my hand up for this. And so when he said he would work with me, I thought, great. And then immediately I was thinking, John's a really, I wonder if, how's this going to work? Are we going to be a good fit? And the coaching program was superb, really, really, really first rate. And when, like 12 weeks on, when we were doing the kind of wrap-up session, John admitted to me, he said, well, when you said that you wanted to work with me, he said he thought, oh, crikey, Annabelle's really got her shit together. That's what his words. Annabelle's really got her shit together. What am I going to do? And of course, at that point, I just laughed in his face. Because, friends, nobody has their shit all together. Nobody. They might look as though they do, but in some aspect of their life, they will not all have their shit together, because we are all work in progress. Every last one of us. And whilst we might be looking at somebody else from our position of lack, and thinking, oh, look, they've got this. Where that's coming from is almost like a place where we are saying to ourselves, if I had that, then I would be happy. Well, we all know from sadly, how high-profile suicides and so on, that you can have as much money and fame and so on in the world. Those people are probably looking at somebody else going, yeah, but you're happy. It comes from a place of lack. And we all do it. We all do it at some level. So the next thing is, why do we do it? And this comes to the human condition. Now, if you look at animal species, almost any, mammals in particular, that's the most useful comparison. If we look at almost any animal species, especially those that operate in an environment, in a social environment where there's a herd or a pack or something like that, it operates on a hierarchy, and that hierarchy operates on status. And that status is built and maintained in different ways. And to some respects, the whole external presentation thing is part of the thing there. So, like we can imagine in the Highlands of Scotland, there's a couple of stags, and they're about to kick off. They're about to have a fight to have control of the herd. Is it the herd? It is the herd, isn't it? Not the flock. What is the collective noun for deer? The herd. So anyway, to have control of like the females and so on. So young buck comes prancing along there, and the old one comes over the hill, and he sort of goes, oh, those antlers look a bit big. I think I'm just drinking at the stream, I'm not attacking, or anything. Gorillas will puff themselves up to look big. Birds, actually, having just said mammals are a case in point, birds will posture externally to create an impression that will put them ahead of their immediate opponent, or that will cement their position in the hierarchy of the pack or the group or wherever it is. Now, in some cultures, in some human cultures, national cultures, hierarchy is very, very strong. So one of the things that I've noticed, my mother's Indian, and I've spent many happy holidays in India and done business in India and so on. And one of the things that you can't help but notice there is that the cultural system, the business culture is quite hierarchical. And sometimes people will ask questions about your background. Are you married? How many children? What do your parents do? And to somebody from Britain, we think, that's a little impertinent, asking those questions. And it's placing aside the language barriers and cultural expectations and so on, but there is an extent to which the person is asking those questions because subconsciously they're thinking, now where are you in the hierarchy? So in the Far East, if you are perhaps a more humble employee of a very large company, the fact that you work for a very large and prestigious company will put you up there. You could be the CEO, the managing director, but if it's just you, your brother and your dog, it's not viewed so highly. And Mircea is so true. This kind of destructive comparison mindset gets passed down to us by, and I keep getting funny little emojis when I'm tapping on your comment, by mum to other women. Mum compared us to other kids. We started comparing our parents. It doesn't end well for anybody. And actually, Amir, your dad comparing your mum to other women, mum compared us to other kids. And that's actually really hit home to me, because I remember actually my mum, bless her, probably with the best will in the world, and in trying to encourage me to to improve myself. And oh God, yeah, is that there was, I wonder what's happened to her now. There was this girl called Annabelle who went to the same church, was probably about a year or so older than me. And she had younger siblings, going off at a tangent now. She had younger siblings, and my mum was always, and she was always good with her younger siblings, my mum was always saying, why can't you be more like Annabelle? Why can't you be more like somebody else? It's not a helpful comparison, because that girl, she might have just been like all sweetness at light at church and an absolute monkey for the rest of the week, but we compare on the basis of what we see. And you're absolutely right, it's not helpful, but it comes from this deep-seated part of the human psyche where subconsciously we feel the need to put ourselves into a hierarchy. We walk into a networking room, we learn to do it, but I'm not a big fan of walking into a room of business people and but we walk in and we will look at people and think, oh, they've got a sharp suit and a Rolex watch. Well, they're obviously a bit very successful. They must be important. Oh, the person over there is perhaps, business casual. It doesn't look as though they've ironed their chinos. The shirt's not tucked in. Well, we make these judgments subconsciously in an instant, and we make that comparison, and somehow we will position ourselves relative to how we think that person is. Now, this will come across in micro signals, into like micro body language signals. If we perceive somebody to be of a higher status than us, we will subconsciously bow to the, it's just micro gestures. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. And people will subconsciously pick up on those things because we all do. And this is happening so deep in the brain we don't even realise it's happening, but it's part of the human psyche. Is what helped us as cave dwellers, fighting off saber-toothed tigers or whatever. It helped us back then in the dawn of time. Not so useful now, but we still do it. So what can we do about it? Hi, Stephen. Thanks for stopping by. What can we do about it? Well, one thing is being aware of something is actually the first step to being able to address it, perhaps a statement of the obvious. If you've got no idea, if you walk into that networking room and you genuinely think everybody else has got it all figured out because they're there in their natty suits and they're standing in a way and they're chatting with their and guffawing at their lame joke, whatever it is, if you walk in and you think that that's real, then that's the first hurdle to overcome. Recognise that what is happening there is animal behaviour. It's part of the human condition at a very, very deep level. And we acknowledge that that's what it is because this is how we behave as a species. But then if we can think, oh, right, that's what's happening. Status, hierarchy, posturing, positioning, figuring out who's who in the room. Am I the most important people here? Will people want to come and speak to me? Am I just going, oh, God, no, I'm just going to run away and hide in the toilets and cry, or, stand by the bowl of crisps or something all evening? Then we must break out of that. And so sometimes just reminding ourselves that this is, look, human beings at work, hierarchy at work, status at work. And my internal thoughts and perceptions of myself must not be compared with somebody else's external presentation, because it is not, friends, it is not a level playing field. So don't do it. Just catch yourself in the moment and just stop. So if you're able to bring this to mind and actually do that, oh, hello, Pritesh. Thank you for stopping by. If you're able to do that, then it's worth considering, well, how might you leverage this? And when I say leverage what? Well, leverage the knowledge that this is part of the human condition. I'm comparing my inside with everybody else's outside, and so is everyone else. Now, sometimes people will walk in and think, oh, well, I'm so far above these people that, well, and that person's just going to be a bit of an arsehole, really, aren't they? Because again, they are going to the other end of the spectrum and believing whatever, perhaps whether it's accurate or whether it's inflated, their opinion of themselves, and they're judging somebody else externally and putting them below them rather than above them. So, let's try and steer a middle ground here and acknowledge that everybody is doing this to some degree or another. So my focus in my thinking this morning isn't for the people who have overinflated opinions of their own status and ego and so on, because that's just not what I'm talking about. It's for people who would look at that person and actually believe the presentation that they're putting on and somehow put themselves below them. Don't do that. So, fourth point then is how can we leverage this knowledge? Well, the first thing is to, as I say, to accept it. Now, there's two ways forward here. Now, one, I'm going to mention it, but it's important to, in my mind, and with my values and my beliefs, it's important to behave with integrity. Because actually, armed with this knowledge, you could be quite manipulative. You could go from the kind of fake it till you make it, right? Well, everyone's pretending, so I'm just going to pretend that I'm a little bit more with it than I actually feel. People will respond to that. Yes, absolutely. You know, if you need to do that, I think there's an extent to which, if it helps you and it's not doing anybody else any harm, absolutely fine. You do see sometimes, though, that people will present such an image that it actually becomes manipulative. And there's no easy way to see it. I see in online marketing quite a lot, where people are positioning themselves as, if you don't know what I know, then you're obviously an idiot. Because, you know, only if you know what I know will you, well, it's posturing, and yes, they will have knowledge that's of value and so on. But, you know, there does come a point in my mind where it becomes manipulative, where we're actually leveraging the fact that other people feel a little bit insecure, they feel a little bit unstable, they are comparing their internal workings with our external presentation, and they are gravitating towards us because of that external presentation and not because of our inside, not because what we actually can do for them, not because of our inherent value as a human being, but because of some kind of, you know, jazz hands marketing slogan or whatever that we present to the outside world. So whilst I'm not, you know, yes, it's about authenticity. Yes, I suppose it is about authenticity. It's also about acknowledging everybody has this mindset. So in leveraging it, we can fake it till we make it, but use your own discernment. At what point does faking it till you making it actually become fraud? Do you know? Where you are so busy pretending you're something that you're not, that you are actually cheating people out of their money, out of their time, out of whatever. Just you know, be aware. Don't go down that route. And if you see people behaving in that way, do your due diligence. They might be talking a great game and look like the bee's knees because they're coming across as confident or, you know, whatever. Yeah, but what's everybody else saying about them? Not just their pals. What's everybody else saying about them? What's going on in the inside? Because that's who and what you want to be working with. The second choice, of course, having recognised that this is something that we all do, is either work with it and think, right, okay, if I fake it till we make it, it'll be fine. Or, I would suggest not, or becoming downright manipulative and moving further down that avenue, is to actually treat people with compassion. And in that networking environment where you happen to have inveigled yourself with a crowd of people who's talking away quite happily, and you see somebody nervously coming in, doing that thing of looking around going, oh God, I don't know anybody, they're all chatting, they all look very professional. You have two choices, whether to go, oh, and continue your conversation, or to graciously bring them into the fold, to, oh, come and join us. You know, how hard is that? How hard is that? Hi, Penny Sue. And to acknowledge this is happening and just to behave with some compassion. That's it. That's it, really. The choice is yours. It doesn't have to be the same choices in every situation. In some instances, you might want to be posturing a little bit more, knowing that you're playing a bit of a game, that none of it's actually real. And in some instances, you might want to let your guard down and actually call the whole thing out for being ridiculous. For being in that networking meeting and thinking everyone's in a grey suit. They all look at it's Attack of the Clones. For calling it out for being ridiculous, because sometimes I think we have to laugh at the human condition because we do bonkers things. So that's it. I'm just going to leave that there. So 4 things in essence was this whole business about comparing your. It's not just oh, I'm comparing myself to other people who are running in a different lane to me. I'm comparing everything about me, my internal persona, with somebody else's external presentation. That is never going to be a fair comparison. But those 4 things, we do this all the time, everywhere, all the time. The second thing is why this happens. It's part of the human condition. It's part of the psyche. The third thing, what can we do about it? And recognising that this is what's happening is the first step in actually doing something about it. And just being on our guard. That am I behaving in a way because of that subconscious human need for like hierarchy and status and so on. And the fourth thing, how are you going to leverage it? Are you going to do so by being gracious and by bringing other people in? Or are you going to do it by faking it till you make it and potentially being a bit manipulative because you're banking on the fact that you know how people are going to respond, because we are all human beings. So it doesn't matter the context for this. If you're a leader, if you're a solopreneur, if you're a mum at home, if you're a dad at home, if you're an employee, it doesn't matter. This is part of the human condition. This is how we behave as a species. And sometimes we just need to strip everything back and get back to who are we as a species? How do we work together? And if we can understand that, we'll probably be more effective at our own personal development, and our understanding of the human race will better enable us to work with other people and to move forward.